The Interstellar Academy floated silently above the blue and white planet of Prime. Its vast glass domes reflected the distant stars, and its sleek metal spires reached toward the sky like fingers grasping for knowledge. Cadets from across the galaxy arrived here to test their strength, their skills, and their minds. Among them were towering Varkians with 6 arms, elegant Sylvans with eyes that glimmered like crystals, and mechanical augmenters whose bodies hummed with precision. In this sea of alien prowess, one small human ship glided toward the docking bay nearly unnoticed. Inside the ship, Lyra Voss adjusted the straps of her backpack, her heart racing with both excitement and nerves. Her eyes swept over the compact interior, her rifle case tucked tightly in a corner. Unlike the other cadets, she carried no heavy power armor or advanced targeting implants. Her rifle was entirely custom, old-fashioned in design, bulky, and heavy. Most would see it as outdated, almost primitive, but Lyra trusted it as she trusted herself. She had trained for years on dusty ranges and quiet forests back on Earth. She had learned to read the wind, calculate distances by sight, and keep her breathing steady when her pulse wanted to race. In a galaxy where technology often replaced skill, she knew she would have to rely on what made humans unique: patience, ingenuity, and focus. The docking bay doors opened with a soft hiss, and Lyra stepped out. She was greeted by the hum of anti-gravity platforms lifting cadets and luggage into the Academy's main corridors. She noticed immediately how different she looked compared to everyone else. Her frame was smaller and her features delicate, yet her eyes carried a sharp intensity. Many of the alien cadets turned their heads to stare. Some whispered to one another. A towering Varkian, at least 7 feet tall with skin that shimmered like polished copper, stepped forward. His 6 arms adjusted in a practiced gesture, as if readying for a fight. "Human," he rumbled, his voice deep and resonant. "This is no place for someone like you." Lyra lifted her chin slightly but said nothing. Words were often useless in a place where action spoke louder. She moved carefully down the corridor, following the glowing arrows projected on the floor that guided new cadets to their dormitories. She carried her rifle case herself, noticing that several mechanical augmenters watched her, likely calculating how heavy she was compared to herself. Lyra felt their silent judgment but ignored it. When she arrived at the dormitory hall, she was assigned a small room with a single bed, a locker, and a simple workstation. She unpacked her rifle carefully, cleaning it with meticulous attention. The metallic parts gleamed under the bright lights, each piece polished and aligned. This rifle was more than a weapon. It was an extension of her mind, a tool that allowed her to measure the world and act with precision. Later, the Academy held an orientation session in the Grand Hall. The ceiling was high, with floating banners representing every species and every achievement. The head instructor, a tall Sylvan named Calith, addressed the cadets. His voice was calm but commanding, filling the hall without any sound amplification. "Welcome to the Interstellar Academy," Calith began. "Here we test skill, strength, intelligence, and character. You will face challenges that push you beyond limits you did not know you had. Some of you will excel, some of you will fail, and some will surprise us all." As Calith's eyes scanned the hall, they paused briefly on Lyra. Her small frame and calm expression seemed almost invisible among the more imposing cadets, but there was something in her gaze that made him nod slightly, almost imperceptibly. After the orientation, the cadets were led to the training grounds. The area was massive, stretching several kilometers with a mix of simulated forests, rocky terrain, and open plains. Mechanical drones floated above, ready to monitor every movement, and holographic targets appeared at various distances. Lyra stepped onto the range, carefully setting her rifle on its stand. Almost immediately, a group of alien cadets nearby noticed her. One of them, a Varkian named Brack, snorted loudly. "Look at that," he said to his friends. "A human with that old metal thing. Do you really think you can compete here?" Lyra did not answer. She simply adjusted the scope, her hands steady, her mind calm. Another cadet, a Sylvan with luminous skin, laughed softly. "She doesn't even have the targeting implants. She must be joking." The mocking continued, and Lyra felt a pang of frustration, but she did not let it show. Instead, she took a deep breath, feeling the cool wind against her face. She began her first practice shot. The rifle hummed as she fired. The shot hit dead center on a target several hundred meters away. Some cadets paused, blinking in surprise. Beginner's luck, Brock muttered, though his voice lacked conviction. Lyra set up for another shot. She adjusted for a light breeze, slightly shifting her stance. The rifle felt balanced in her hands as though it knew where she wanted the bullet to go before she did. Another shot rang out, hitting another distant target perfectly. Whispers started to circulate among the other cadets. Maybe she's skilled, one said quietly. But Brack shook his head. She's just lucky. Wait until the real exercise begins, the instructor, Calith, observed quietly from the sidelines. He approached Lyra after her third perfect shot. His long, graceful fingers rested lightly on the rifle's barrel. You have a steady hand, he said softly, barely above a whisper. Most cadets here rely on speed or technology. You rely on yourself. Lyra blinked, surprised that he had spoken directly to her. She nodded politely but did not speak. Words were unnecessary. Calith leaned closer, his eyes locking with hers. Only snipers can remain this calm under pressure, he whispered. And humans have a way of thinking differently. That can make all the difference. Lyra's heart raced, but she felt a strange sense of calm. The instructor had seen something in her that others could not. That small, almost unnoticed acknowledgement filled her with quiet determination. The rest of the training day passed with various drills. Alien cadets moved quickly, using enhanced reflexes to hit targets, often relying on computerized aiming systems. Lyra moved slowly, deliberately, calculating each shot. She took longer to aim, but each shot was precise, landing exactly where she intended. By the end of the day, whispers had changed. Some cadets still mocked her appearance, but many were beginning to watch with curiosity. The human who seemed so small, so ordinary, had shown skill beyond expectation. Back in her dorm, Lyra cleaned her rifle once more, checking every bolt and every barrel. She allowed herself a small smile. Tomorrow, the real tests would begin, and she knew they would be far harder. But for the first time since leaving Earth, she felt a spark of confidence. She was not just a small human in a sea of powerful aliens, she was something different, something capable. As she lay down to rest, the academy lights dimmed, and the stars outside the window gleamed like distant promises. Lyra closed her eyes, thinking of the challenge ahead. She did not yet know what the other cadets would throw at her, but she knew one thing: she would not be underestimated again. Humans had a way of surprising the galaxy, and she intended to prove it. The vastness of space was silent. Stars blinked faintly like distant eyes, watching over the countless planets and moons scattered across the galaxy. For centuries, humans had reached beyond their small blue planet, exploring nearby star systems, building colonies, and learning to thrive in the cold, dark reaches of the universe. Yet, even with all their technology, the galaxy still held secrets that no human mind had ever imagined. Deep in the outer rim of explored space, Earth's monitoring stations picked up something unusual. The signal was weak, irregular, almost buried under cosmic noise, but it carried a story. Scientists at the United Earth Space Observation Network leaned forward in their seats, hearts beating faster. It was not a natural signal. It was a distress call. Run the frequency through the analyzer again, ordered Dr. Elena Morales, the lead communications specialist. Her eyes flicked across the screen, scanning the patterns of the transmission. It's coming from Zerathia, she said quietly, almost to herself. Outer Rim, Sector 12. But as this is bad, very bad. Zerathia had been a small, peaceful planet on the edge of colonized space. Its inhabitants were an intelligent alien species, peaceful by nature, with a society devoted to art, science, and harmony. They had no defense forces to speak of and lived in beautiful cities of glass and stone, surrounded by forests and clear lakes. For centuries, they had coexisted quietly with their neighbors. Now the distress signal was a warning that this peace had ended. Dr. Morales turned to her colleague, Captain Rohan Singh, who had trained for years in both exploration and emergency response. "Captain, are you seeing this?" she asked, voice tight with concern. On the main screen, a map of Zerathia's surface flickered. Huge areas glowed red. Cities were gone. Forests were scorched. Smoke rose from what had once been bustling towns. The planet looked dead. Rohan swallowed hard. "This looks like an attack," he said. "And not a small one. Whoever did this, they wanted to erase everything." The transmissions continued, fragments of alien messages interspersed with strange patterns of interference. The content was horrifying. Humans could not understand the language fully yet, but the images accompanying the signals were clear. They showed tall, armored creatures moving with cold efficiency, leaving destruction wherever they went. Entire populations wiped out in moments. It was methodical. It was ruthless. Dr. Morales felt a chill. "This is genocide," she whispered. They didn't just conquer. They destroyed. The Earth Council convened immediately. Governments, scientists, and military leaders met through secure channels. Across every continent, people watched the first images of Zarathia's devastation, broadcasted in real time. Shock turned quickly into anger. How could an intelligent species commit such a crime? The Council had faced threats before, but never a deliberate attempt to annihilate an entire civilization. "It's unlike anything we've encountered," said Admiral Lucia Chen, commander of the Earth Defense Fleet. "We know some alien civilizations exist. Some are hostile, but this is on a scale we have never imagined. If they could do this to Zarathia, what's stopping them from coming here?" Scientists worked tirelessly to decode the transmissions, trying to understand the Krillian, the species responsible. What they discovered was chilling. The Krillian were advanced with weapons that could obliterate cities in minutes. Their ships moved faster than anything humans had ever built. Their armor could withstand almost any attack. But even in this terror, a small detail offered hope. The Krillian were highly organized and predictable in certain ways. They followed strict protocols. They were brilliant but not creative. "Captain Singh," Dr. Morales said, turning from her console, "look at this. Their pattern of attack is repetitive. It's efficient, yes, but there's a weakness. If we understand it, we might have a chance." Rohan's jaw tightened. "So we fight fire with fire? We find their weakness and hit back?" "Not exactly fire," Dr. Morales replied. "We fight with our minds, strategy, unpredictability, things they cannot anticipate. We have to think like humans, not like machines." The Council's decision was unanimous. Earth could not ignore this threat. Humanity would act. The first step was gathering information, sending observation probes, and preparing a defensive fleet. But there was also a moral decision. Humanity could not become like the Krillian. If humans fought, they had to do so with purpose and integrity, protecting life wherever possible. As Earth mobilized, a young linguist named Mara Albright worked around the clock to decode Krillian messages. Every day she uncovered fragments of their communication, learning how they coordinated, how they thought, and most importantly, how they underestimated other species. "They see themselves as gods," she said one night during a briefing. "Perfect, unstoppable, but they are blind to unpredictability. That's our advantage." Meanwhile, the first observation fleet arrived in Zarathia's system. Human ships, sleek and advanced but far smaller than the Krillian armadas, circled the planet quietly, scanning and recording. Drones flew over the charred remains, capturing images of devastation. The scenes were heartbreaking. Buildings reduced to rubble, forests turned to ash, lakes filled with debris. Human scientists recorded everything, vowing that the story of Zarathia would not be forgotten. On the observation bridge, Captain Singh stood in silence. "We came to study a planet to learn about life beyond Earth," he said softly. "Instead, we found death. They were not ready to fight. But we are. We will be ready when the time comes." The Krillian had made one mistake. They thought humans were weak, slow, and predictable. They did not know that humans could endure the impossible, adapt and fight in ways no one else could imagine. This realization became the spark for humanity's awakening. Over the next weeks, Earth transformed. Scientists, engineers, and strategists worked tirelessly. Military academies accelerated training programs. Engineers reverse-engineered alien technology found in wreckage, learning to adapt it to human ships and weapons. AI analysts studied Krillian strategies, simulating battles in virtual space to test human responses. It was a race against time, and humanity knew the stakes were nothing less than survival. Amid all this preparation, Dr. Morales and Captain Singh stood on the observation deck of the largest human vessel in the fleet, staring at the remains of Zarathia below. "It's hard to believe anyone could do this," Morales said quietly. "And yet, we must for them. For the universe," Rohan nodded. "They think they are the monsters," he said, his voice firm. "But they haven't met us yet. And when they do, they will understand that humans are not to be underestimated." Mara Albright joined them, holding a holographic display of Krillian communications. I've been translating what we can. They don't see humans as a threat yet. That's our advantage. We can be unpredictable, creative, they won't know what hits them. For the first time, a sense of determination replaced fear. Humanity was facing a species capable of unimaginable destruction, but humans had something no alien army could match: courage, ingenuity, and the will to protect life. The stage was set for a conflict that would test every human skill, every instinct, and every ounce of determination. And in the quiet of the observation deck, the first human thought rang clear. They would not let another world fall without fighting back. Zarathia's story would be remembered. Humanity's response would be unlike anything the Krillian had faced. And in that response, Earth would show the galaxy that humans, for all their flaws, could rise to any challenge and perhaps in the process, become the monsters no one would dare underestimate. The stars outside shone cold and distant, indifferent to the struggles of life below. Yet for humans, each star was a beacon, a call to action, and a promise that even in the face of unimaginable horror, life and hope could endure. Humanity's story was just beginning. The news of Zarathia's destruction spread across Earth like wildfire. Screens in every city, home and school displayed images of the once vibrant alien world reduced to ash. People stared in silence, shock giving way to anger, grief, and an unmistakable determination. For the first time in decades, humanity felt a deep, unified sense of purpose. They could no longer remain spectators in a galaxy where atrocities went unchecked. The United Earth Council convened an emergency session. Leaders, diplomats, and military commanders from every continent joined in virtual conference, their faces etched with concern. At the heart of the discussion was a single question: how could humanity respond to a threat this terrifying? Admiral Lucia Chen, head of the Earth Defense Fleet, addressed the council. We are facing a civilization capable of destroying entire worlds with ease. Their technology surpasses ours in many ways, but they are not perfect. Their actions are predictable, their strategies rigid. If we prepare carefully, we can counter them. A murmur of agreement swept through the council, yet many still feared the cost. Humanity had never faced a threat of this scale. This was not a skirmish at a planet's border. It was an encounter with a species that practiced calculated extermination. Dr. Elena Morales stood beside Admiral Chen, presenting her team's latest analysis. The Krillian rely on strict hierarchies and procedural attacks, she explained. They underestimate species with unpredictable behavior. Humans are not bound by such rigid patterns. Our creativity, improvisation, and morality can be strengths they cannot anticipate. Captain Rohan Singh, who had led the first reconnaissance fleet near Zarathia, added, their overconfidence is their weakness. They believe they are unstoppable. They haven't seen humans fight together as one, using strategy, innovation, and willpower. That is our edge. The Council agreed to form a coalition called the Vanguard, an alliance of Earth's finest scientists, engineers, strategists, and soldiers. Its purpose was clear: protect humanity, gather intelligence, and, if necessary, strike back at the Krillian. Mobilization began. Earth's cities buzzed with unprecedented activity. Factories retooled to produce advanced spacecraft, weapons, and supplies. Engineers and scientists collaborated in ways previously thought impossible. Old technologies were combined with new ideas, resulting in faster, more durable ships and smarter AI systems capable of predicting enemy movements. In New Geneva, the central hub of the Vanguard, Mara Albright worked tirelessly with a team of linguists and cryptographers. Every day they decrypted Krillian messages, studying the alien language, signals, and thought patterns. Each small breakthrough gave humanity more insight into their enemies' weaknesses. They think in absolutes, Mara explained to her team one morning. Their communications are rigid, repetitive, and hierarchical. They do not expect deception, improvisation, or creativity. That is where we can surprise them. Meanwhile, Captain Singh trained the first human combat units for zero-gravity and interstellar engagements. Soldiers practiced in advanced simulators, learning how to adapt to unpredictable conditions. You won't be fighting the way we fought on Earth, he told them. You'll face a species that doesn't tire, doesn't feel fear, and follows orders without question. But they cannot predict what we will do next. That is our weapon. At the same time, Admiral Chen oversaw fleet deployment. Earth's warships were grouped into specialized units, reconnaissance squadrons, strike teams, defense formations, and supply convoys. Each unit practiced coordination, improvisation, and rapid adaptation, combining human intuition with AI guidance. The human advantage, despite the fear and uncertainty. A unique quality emerged across humanity: determination. Civilians volunteered for support roles, engineers worked day and night on modifications to existing spacecraft, and scientists shared discoveries freely, transcending national boundaries. The Krillian had never faced a species capable of such coordinated unity. Dr. Morales often reminded her colleagues, "We must never lose our humanity. We fight not to become like them, but to protect life, to preserve freedom, and to ensure that no more worlds fall to their cruelty." Even children contributed in small ways, designing new technologies, assisting with research simulations, and spreading awareness. Schools held discussions about the importance of empathy, strategy, and unity. Humanity was awakening as a collective force, motivated not only by survival but by the moral responsibility to act. First, strategic moves. After months of preparation, the Vanguard executed its first strategic actions. Observation drones were deployed to Krillian-occupied systems. These drones recorded patrol routines, communication patterns, and fleet movements. Humans discovered that the Krillian were brilliant tacticians, but their reliance on technology and strict protocols made them predictable in certain situations. Captain Singh led a covert reconnaissance mission to a planet on the edge of Krillian space. The mission was simple in theory: observe, record, and return. Yet the Krillian detected the human presence and attacked. Instead of engaging directly, humans used a combination of deception and improvisation. Ships split into multiple small groups, creating decoys and hiding true movements. AI systems predicted the enemy's likely responses, and humans used unanticipated maneuvers to escape without losses. Returning to Earth, the fleet reported, "We underestimated them initially, but we also discovered their weaknesses. They are not invincible. They can be outsmarted." The news inspired humanity. People realized that despite the Krillian's power, human creativity, teamwork, and courage could level the playing field. The first spark of hope had emerged, and it spread across the galaxy. A new kind of diplomacy. While the Vanguard prepared for potential combat, Earth also attempted a different approach: communication. Diplomats sent messages to Krillian fleets offering peace and warning against further attacks. Unsurprisingly, the Krillian ignored them. They had no concept of mercy or negotiation, seeing other species as tools or obstacles. But even in silence, the attempt had value. Humans learned more about Krillian communication patterns, coding systems, and protocols. Each rejected message became a step toward understanding the enemy better, turning failure into a strategic advantage. Mara Albright reflected on the irony. "They dismiss us because they see us as weak," she said. "But every time they ignore us, they reveal more about themselves. Every silence teaches us something." Uniting humanity. As the Vanguard grew stronger, humans began to realize the true importance of unity. Nations that had once competed fiercely now collaborated without hesitation. Knowledge was shared freely. Engineers in Tokyo worked alongside programmers in Johannesburg. Scientists in São Paulo coordinated with tacticians in New Geneva. The galaxy was vast and the Krillian threat loomed large, but humanity's response showed that when faced with true danger, they could rise as one. Dr. Morales addressed the council one evening, reviewing the progress of the Vanguard. "We are not yet ready for war, but we are closer than ever. Our ships are faster, our soldiers are trained, and our knowledge of the enemy is growing every day. The Krillian believe they are unstoppable. Soon they will learn that humans cannot be predicted, cannot be controlled, and cannot be defeated so easily." Admiral Chen nodded. "We will continue to prepare. We will continue to learn. And when the time comes, humanity will act, not as a frightened species, but as protectors of life, justice, and freedom." The first signs of hope. Late one night, Captain Singh walked the observation deck alone, staring at the stars. He thought of Zerathia, of the lives lost, and of the many challenges ahead. Yet he felt hope. Humanity had awakened not as conquerors but as guardians. Their strength lay not in sheer numbers or superior technology, but in creativity, courage, and unity. A holographic display flickered to life, showing Mara's latest translation of a Krillian signal. "They underestimate us," Singh murmured. "They still think humans are weak. Soon they will learn the truth." And in that moment, humanity understood a simple, powerful truth. They were not just fighting for themselves. They were fighting for every world that could not defend itself, for every species that had ever been silenced, and for the promise that life, in all its forms, deserved protection. Earth had awakened. Humanity's response to the galaxy's darkness was no longer fear, it was action. And in the cold, infinite expanse of space, the first spark of resistance began to shine. The stage was set. Humanity was ready to face the Krillian, not with despair, but with strategy, unity, and unwavering determination. And for the first time, the galaxy began to see that humans were not the weak, predictable creatures some had assumed. They were something far more powerful. The vast emptiness of space stretched endlessly as humanity's first strategic fleet approached the outer rim of Krillian-controlled territory. Ships moved in perfect formation, silent sentinels against the dark, cold void. For months, humans had prepared for this moment. But nothing could replace the tension that filled the corridors of the lead ship. USS Horizon. Captain Rohan Singh paced the bridge, glancing at the holographic display showing their destination. A minor Krillian outpost orbiting the shattered remains of a small, uninhabited planet. "This is our first real test," he said, voice calm but firm. "Remember, the Krillian believe they are invincible. They do not expect us to strike in any unpredictable way. That is our advantage." Lieutenant Mara Albright, now embedded in the fleet as a communications specialist and linguist, studied the Krillian patterns one last time. Their patrols are systematic. They assume any threat will approach predictably. If we split the fleet and use decoys, we can outmaneuver them. It's risky, but it could work. Dr. Elena Morales, monitoring sensors and scanning for anomalies, nodded. "Every piece of intelligence we have gathered suggests this is the moment to test their weaknesses. But remember, avoid unnecessary destruction. We fight smart, not reckless." The ambush as the fleet entered Krillian space, distant ships appeared on the sensors, sleek, angular vessels moving with precision. The Krillian had detected an anomaly. Their movements were coordinated, almost mechanical, and every maneuver seemed pre-programmed. Humans realized quickly that direct confrontation would be suicidal. Captain Singh raised his hand. "Execute the plan. Split into 3 groups. 1 decoy unit to draw their attention, 2 strike units to observe and adapt." The decoy squadron moved forward, appearing to be the main attack force. The Krillian shifted their formations immediately, targeting the perceived threat with overwhelming firepower. Explosions lit the void as decoy ships launched countermeasures and evasive maneuvers, drawing enemy fire away from the true strike units. In the shadow of the decoys, Rohan's main fleet advanced, using gravitational slingshots around nearby asteroids to approach the Krillian unnoticed. Every movement was calculated but unpredictable, a combination of AI predictions and human intuition. The Krillian, confident in their protocols, failed to anticipate the complexity of human strategy. Learning in real time, as the engagement continued, humans realized the true advantage of their species: adaptability. Krillian ships moved in strict formations, responding to threats in predictable ways. Humans, however, could improvise instantly. When a Krillian vessel launched a sudden counterattack, one human ship reversed course at the last moment, firing a precision EMP pulse that temporarily disabled the enemy's targeting systems. "Nice work," Rohan said through the comms. "They didn't see that coming." Mara monitored communications. "I'm starting to understand their language patterns. They communicate with efficiency, not creativity. We can disrupt them by acting in ways they do not anticipate." Dr. Morales watched the battle unfold on her console. "Every time they expect a standard move, we do something different. Their confidence falters just slightly, but enough to give us the edge." Even the youngest pilots displayed remarkable courage. Lieutenant Kai Navarro, barely out of the academy, executed a daring maneuver to rescue a disabled decoy ship, weaving between enemy fire with astonishing precision. His actions exemplified the human willingness to take risks for the sake of others, a trait the Krillian could not comprehend. Turning the tide, despite being outnumbered, humans began to turn the tide of the engagement. A small strike unit led by Captain Singh intercepted a Krillian command vessel. Using a combination of electronic disruption and carefully timed attacks, they managed to disable the ship's navigation systems. For the first time, a Krillian vessel had been neutralized without massive loss of life, a demonstration of precision, strategy, and human ingenuity. On the bridge of the USS Horizon, the crew cheered silently, but the tension remained. "This is only the beginning," Rohan said. "They will adapt quickly. We must continue to be unpredictable. Every move must surprise them," Dr. Morales added. "The Krillian are learning too, but slowly. Our advantage is that they cannot think outside their protocols." "We can," Mara's voice cut in, excitement clear. "I'm picking up fragments of Krillian messages. They are confused. They do not understand how we are evading them. This is exactly what we needed, the first psychological edge." Unexpected obstacles victory was not without challenges. One human ship, attempting a high-speed maneuver, collided with a small asteroid. The crew acted quickly, sealing compartments and rerouting power. Even in moments of crisis, humans demonstrated ingenuity. Whereas the Krillian would have considered such damage catastrophic, the human crew adapted in seconds, turning potential disaster into a manageable situation. The Krillian, meanwhile, grew increasingly erratic. Their attempts to follow protocol failed against human unpredictability. Ships collided, maneuvers were miscalculated, and their communication lines became confused. Humans realized that fear and uncertainty, emotions foreign to the Krillian, could be used as weapons. Captain Singh addressed the fleet. "Stay focused. Remember, our goal is not total destruction. Observe, learn, and exploit weaknesses. Humanity will not become monsters to fight monsters. We will win with intelligence, courage, and unity." The first human victory. Hours later, the engagement concluded. Human ships returned to their positions, battered but triumphant. Sensors reported several disabled Krillian ships, while human casualties were minimal. The fleet had succeeded not through overwhelming force, but through strategy, improvisation, and courage. On the bridge of the USS Horizon, Captain Singh allowed himself a brief moment of satisfaction. "They believed themselves unstoppable," he said quietly. "They have learned their first lesson. Humans are not weak and humans are not predictable." Mara Albright smiled as she analyzed the Krillian transmissions. "They're talking about us now," she said. "Confusion, frustration, even a hint of fear. This is more than a tactical victory. This is psychological. We've shaken their confidence," Dr. Morales nodded. "This is exactly why we train so hard. They do not understand the human mind. They do not understand what we will risk to protect life. That is our greatest weapon." Reflections on humanity. As the fleet regrouped in the safety of unclaimed space, humans reflected on the battle. It was not just a confrontation of ships and weapons, it was a test of spirit. Humans had faced a species that could destroy worlds, yet they had found a way to prevail. It was a lesson in creativity, courage, and adaptability. Captain Singh gathered his officers. "Remember Zarathia," he said. "Every world we protect, every life we defend matters. This is not about vengeance. It is about showing the galaxy that humanity stands for life, for freedom, and for justice." Dr. Morales added, "And remember this, the Krillian believe in order, efficiency, and absolute control. We believe in something they cannot comprehend, imagination, morality, and the unpredictable power of unity. That is why we will continue to succeed." Even the youngest crew members, who had watched the battle unfold with awe, felt a sense of pride. They understood that humanity's strength was not in technology alone, but in the hearts and minds of every person willing to act for the greater good. The message sent. That evening, Mara transmitted a carefully crafted message to the Krillian fleets. It was not a threat, but a statement of fact. Humans would protect life. Humans would resist aggression. And humans would fight intelligently, morally, and relentlessly. The Krillian did not respond immediately. Silence followed, but it was different from before. There was hesitation in their movements, uncertainty in their calculations, and for the first time, a recognition that humans were more than they seemed. Captain Singh stared at the stars beyond the bridge, feeling the weight of responsibility. "This is only the beginning," he said. "The Krillian will not forget today. Neither will we. But humanity has learned something essential. Courage, intelligence, and unity are more powerful than any weapon alone. And we will use them wisely." Dr. Morales looked over at him. "We've passed our first test. But the real challenge is coming. They will adapt. We must adapt faster, Mara nodded, and we will. Humans do not give up, that is why we will prevail. As the USS Horizon and its fleet continued through the silent void, humans prepared for the next phase of their struggle. The first contact had proven one undeniable truth. Even against overwhelming odds, humans could fight in ways no enemy could predict. Their ingenuity, courage, and moral strength had given them a foothold in a galaxy that seemed impossible to conquer. And somewhere in the cold, distant darkness, the Krillian began to whisper among themselves. They had met humans for the first time, and they were starting to understand that the real challenge had only just begun. Months had passed since humanity's first encounter with the Krillian. The initial skirmish had proven a crucial point. Humans were not weak, predictable, or easily intimidated. The Krillian had learned that much, and humanity had learned even more. Every battle, every observation, and every success taught them something new about the enemy. The United Earth Council, now fully supporting the Vanguard, authorized the next phase of operations: strategic counterstrikes. Humanity would not merely defend itself. It would go on the offensive, striking at Krillian positions, testing their limits, and reclaiming influence in the Outer Rim. Captain Rohan Singh convened his top officers on the bridge of the flagship, USS Horizon. The room was tense, but the air was filled with determination. Holographic maps of Krillian-occupied systems rotated above the central table. "Our goal is precise," Singh said. "We are not here to destroy entire planets. We are here to reclaim space, disrupt their operations, and show them that humanity cannot be ignored. Every move we make must be calculated, adaptive, and unpredictable." Lieutenant Mara Albright added, "We have gathered months of intelligence. Their communication patterns, fleet patrols, and supply routes are now mapped. They are brilliant tacticians, but still bound by rules and protocols. That's where we strike." Dr. Elena Morales pointed to the display. "Our AI models suggest that targeting their supply lines and command nodes first will create maximum disruption with minimum conflict. It is smart, efficient, and keeps casualties low." The first counterstrike mission focused on a Krillian mining colony orbiting Zerath 7, a barren planet used to extract rare minerals for their war machine. A small human fleet approached under the cover of asteroid belts and natural debris. The Krillian, confident in their control, did not expect an attack from this angle. Captain Singh issued commands with calm precision. "Strike units Alpha and Beta. Prepare electronic interference. Recon drones map the colony defenses. All ships maintain maximum stealth. No unnecessary engagement." The humans had learned from their previous encounter. Their greatest weapon was unpredictability. Instead of charging directly, they split into smaller groups, each moving independently, confusing Krillian sensors and forcing the enemy to overreact. Mara monitored communications from the decoy ships. "They are trying to predict our approach," she said. "But every move we make is different from their expectations. They are unsure how to respond." The human advantage: within hours, human teams reached the mining colony. Instead of destroying the facility, they executed surgical strikes, disabling power grids, jamming communications, and incapacitating security drones. The Krillian personnel were surprised by the precision and intelligence of the operation. Humans moved with purpose, striking critical points while avoiding unnecessary destruction. Captain Singh reflected on this approach during the mission. "We are not monsters," he said to his officers. "Our strength is not in destruction, but in strategy, intelligence, and moral courage. That is something the Krillian cannot predict or understand." For the first time, the Krillian saw that humans fought with a combination of logic and creativity. While alien machines relied solely on programming and protocol, humans adapted in real time, improvising as the situation changed. One small squadron of human ships even turned enemy surveillance satellites into decoys, tricking the Krillian into attacking their own systems. Psychological warfare as the operation continued. The psychological impact on the Krillian became evident. Their communications, once confident and precise, grew hesitant. Fleet commanders sent repetitive messages, seeking guidance from higher authority, which caused delays in decision-making. The humans exploited these gaps, striking where resistance was weakest and retreating before the Krillian could fully respond. Mara observed the results. "We are not only winning strategically," she said. "We are winning psychologically. They are realizing that humans cannot be predicted. Every success we have shakes their confidence further. The human crews took no joy in this realization. They respected life, understanding that every action had consequences. Their victories were not about revenge, they were about survival, justice, and protecting others from the horrors seen on Zerathia. Adapting and learning throughout the campaign, humans learned faster than the Krillian could adapt. Dr. Morales coordinated with engineers and tacticians, continuously improving strategies, weapons, and fleet movements. Lessons from every encounter were applied to the next operation, creating a cycle of rapid improvement. Captain Singh often reminded his crews, "The Krillian are dangerous, yes, but fear is not our guide. Intelligence, creativity, and moral judgment are. We act because it is right and because we must. That is what makes humans strong." Even minor units played a crucial role. A small reconnaissance team discovered a hidden Krillian supply convoy and used stealth and hacking techniques to disable its navigation systems. Without firing a single shot, the team ensured that critical resources would not reach Krillian front lines, forcing the aliens to rethink their operations. Expanding the campaign as weeks turned into months, the Vanguard expanded operations across multiple systems. Coordinated strikes on communications hubs, mining colonies, and small fleets disrupted the Krillian supply chain and forced their attention in multiple directions simultaneously. The humans had created chaos not through brute force but through strategy, innovation, and adaptability. Captain Singh's fleet became legendary in human space. News of the strikes spread across colonies, inspiring hope. Civilians contributed to the war effort by creating new technologies, supporting logistics, and analyzing data. Humanity was becoming a united force capable of challenging a species once thought unbeatable. Admiral Lucia Chen addressed the council, reviewing progress. The Krillian are learning that humans cannot be contained, cannot be predicted, and cannot be ignored. Each successful mission increases confidence, improves skills, and strengthens our fleets. They may be powerful, but humanity is relentless, intelligent, and adaptable. The Krillian react. The Krillian, once overconfident, now faced a new reality. Their strategies failed against humans' unpredictable tactics. Attempts to anticipate human movements were repeatedly thwarted, causing frustration within the alien ranks. For the first time, the Krillian questioned their own superiority. Captain Singh knew the importance of timing and restraint. "We cannot let this arrogance make us reckless," he said. "Every mission must be calculated. We strike to disrupt, not destroy. We strike to protect, not terrorize. That is why we will succeed." Mara monitored enemy signals. They are trying to reorganize their fleets, but every move they make is slower than our response. They cannot keep up with the pace of human adaptation. A human lesson one night after a long day of operations. Captain Singh and Dr. Morales observed the stars from the observation deck. "We've made incredible progress," Morales said quietly. "But the Krillian are not finished. They will escalate. We must be ready." Singh nodded. "Every encounter teaches us something new. They are brilliant, but they lack imagination. That is our greatest strength. And we must never forget why we fight. Not for glory, not for revenge, but to protect life and freedom." Mara joined them, holding a holographic projection of a Krillian command message. "They are starting to notice us as a real threat," she said. "They underestimate us no longer, and yet, they still cannot predict our next move. That will always be our advantage." Even in the quiet of space, the human fleet buzzed with activity. Engineers worked on new systems. Tacticians analyzed recent encounters, and crews trained for the next operation. Every member understood that the war was not only about technology or firepower, it was about courage, creativity, and morality. Preparing for the next phase with each successful counterstrike, humans gained confidence and knowledge. The Krillian were no longer untouchable. Their rigid hierarchy, reliance on protocol, and inability to adapt to unpredictability had been exposed. Humanity's strengths, imagination, moral judgment, and unity were turning the tide. Captain Singh addressed his fleet one morning. The Krillian believed they were the apex of strategy and strength. They believed they could destroy anyone who opposed them. Today they learned that humans are not so easily defeated. Remember Zerathia. Remember why we fight. And know this: we will continue, we will adapt, and we will prevail. Dr. Morales added, "Every planet we protect, every mission we complete, proves that humanity is capable of greatness. Our strength is not just in our ships, our weapons, or our numbers. It is in our hearts and minds, and that is something no alien species can ever predict or control. Mara concluded, "The Krillian have met humans for the first time. They have learned to fear our ingenuity, to doubt their own strategies. But the best is yet to come. We are just getting started." As the fleet continued its campaign across Krillian-occupied space, humanity proved one undeniable truth. Intelligence, courage, and morality are as powerful as any weapon. The Krillian, though fearsome and advanced, could not fully comprehend the resourcefulness and determination of humans. Every operation strengthened not only the fleet but the spirit of every human watching from Earth and the colonies. The galaxy had begun to see a new reality. Humans were a force to be